Could a WWE star be getting a new gimmick? Well, we're going to talk about that, plus why I think Chad Gable has re-signed or will be re-signing with WWE. That and so much more right here on The Ango Show. Don't forget, I'm giving away a World Heavyweight Championship replica belt from WWEshop.com at 100,000 subscribers. I want to kick things off with Ludwig Kaiser. A awesome match between Ludwig and Sheamus on WWE Raw. It took place last night, and it appears that the backstage reception to this match was very, very good. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Sheamus versus Ludwig Kaiser ended up getting a ton of praise backstage. Obviously, this isn't a shock to me. I watched the match. I thoroughly enjoyed the match, and I love the way that this match was produced. The way that Sheamus was able to look strong, even in defeat. Now, I often talk about wins and losses don't typically matter, and this is one of those situations where Sheamus losing to Ludwig, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Now, the fact that these two have gotten a lot of high praise from the brass backstage in WWE is a very good thing, and it's a significant thing because for a very long time, WWE has kind of planted the seed that Ludwig Kaiser would be a serious threat as a singles guy. Now, my heart slightly breaks for Giovanni Vinci because, well, since the WWE draft, there's been no follow-up with Giovanni Vinci. We haven't seen Giovanni Vinci on SmackDown. Ludwig Kaiser beat the hell out of him. Him and Gunther have been doing their own thing on Raw, and now we get to see where WWE truly stands, which I believe is Ludwig Kaiser getting that big singles push. Now, obviously, Bash at Berlin is still a little bit of ways away, but I have to assume that WWE has something very significantly planned for Ludwig Kaiser, as well as Ilya Dragunov and Gunther, and rightfully so. Those three guys are absolutely incredible, and I don't know if WWE will break up Gunther and Ludwig, but to see that this match is getting high praise is a very good thing. We know that WWE has planted that seed. We know that WWE values him as a singles talent, but is it too soon? That is often the question that I ask anytime WWE makes rational decisions, and it seems like WWE now under the new regime carefully plans things long term. But of course, it is important that we acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, they should not rush this at all. Because, truth be told, Gunther still has yet to win the World Heavyweight Championship. And if I were WWE, and if you want to create new stars, and if you want to create thrilling moments, I think the way to do that is by having Gunther and Ludwig stay together. And then have Gunther go on a lengthy world title reign. And if you're going to have Gunther drop the world title to someone, Ludwig Kaiser or Ilya Dragunov could make a lot of sense. I don't want to see them pursue those matches unless there is something really built up with it. And having Ludwig turn on Gunther could be a really good storyline long term. With that being said, I want to turn our attention to Chad Gable. Obviously, we have been talking about Chad Gable for a little bit of time, and everybody's kind of confused as to what's happening with his contract situation. Well, let me just tell you guys, first and foremost, it is incredibly important that I mention how incredibly awesome this storyline is with Alpha Academy. Tozawa, Maxine, Otis, all three have become very, very good in this storyline. It seems like all three of them have stepped up, which has allowed Chad Gable to gain credibility as a heel. Now imagine last year in September if Chad Gable defeated Gunther. We would not be getting this level of storytelling for Chad Gable. So it seems like the long-term planning of Chad Gable turning heel has been absolutely incredible. But that's not what this is about. WWE did something really, really interesting last night later on in the episode. And that is when you see talent walking through the backstage environment and in the background you see Chad Gable talking to the Creed brothers again. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I have this mapped out, and I would be very shocked if I was wrong. At some point, Otis and Alpha Academy are going to turn on Chad Gable. But what if it doesn't happen that way? What if Chad Gable gets sick and tired of them not being able to fully commit to this new and improved version of Chad Gable? How is Chad Gable going to defeat Sami Zayn at Clash at the Castle? Well, it depends if WWE wants to prolong this. Because if they do it at Clash at the Castle, if they had Chad Gable lose, it creates another storyline between he and Otis, which, by the way, could very well happen, where Otis turns on Chad Gable, cost him the Intercontinental Championship, and that would logically explain why Chad Gable now brings in the Creed brothers. But I would actually book it another way. I would have the Creed brothers immediately help Chad Gable at the pay-per-view. Have Chad Gable win because the Creed brothers helped him out, and then the Creed brothers and Chad Gable confront Tozawa and Otis face-to-face after the match, and that would allow Chad Gable to direct the Creed brothers to officially cement the heel turn and take out Alpha Academy. That's another fun way of doing it. And another way that they could do this, quite honestly, would be that they create Alpha Academy and expand. Now, I know everybody's kind of expecting Otis to turn on Chad Gable, and I'm not saying this should be the primary thought, but if you want to have a super group, it wouldn't be a bad idea for Chad Gable to have the Creed brothers, Tozawa, Otis, Maxine, everybody together as one heel group. That's not the idea that I would lead with, but obviously WWE teasing Chad Gable and the Creed brothers tells me that with those constant teases, by the way, it tells me that WWE is probably locking him down long term. And it just makes so much sense. It would be very foolish to keep teasing long-term stuff if his contract ends Friday and there's no plan to re-sign him. So I do believe no matter what, he ends up staying in WWE. I'm very excited about the storyline. I think there's a lot of great ways they can go. Now it is just wait and see. Speaking of wait and see, we got to see what's going to happen with Natalya, because last night on Raw, she said it. She said it, guys. She's not bullshitting, man. It's time for a change. Now, what kind of change does this mean? We know that Natalya's contract is coming up. Is she going to walk her way into AEW and go into the Owen Hart tournament? Is she going to win that tournament for AEW? Or is Natalya going to turn heel, get a new gimmick change, and stay in the WWE? And obviously, I'm kind of torn on this 50-50, but I have my reasons to believe that Natalya will be staying put in WWE as well. I believe that little moment backstage where she talks about this, I think it was very significant, because I do believe that Natalya will be undergoing a gimmick change. And I just want to throw this out there. There are tons and tons of great women in WWE, and a lot of them are being utilized, but there is also a crop of talent not being utilized. I actually want to see Natalya start her own faction with underutilized talent in WWE. She lost to Kiana James. I think Natalya being a heel with Kiana James could be a really cool thing. Add in one other member and kind of form a group. Got to spice up the women's tag team division. You got Damage Control. You got all these other groups in WWE, but Natalya is the veteran. They are clearly teasing a change is coming to her character. She is well respected. She's incredibly talented, but for some reason, she never gets to be in the limelight as much as the others, and I disagree with that. So the best way to do that in today's WWE is simply by letting her lead a new faction, and the best part is she could also help out Kiana James and many others, and that would be the right way to go about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought Raw was fantastic, but I want to see more, and I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below.